There was a dog that climbed up under our house when I was growing up. You'd have these dogs, these strays, that people would just drop them off out in the woods. And so there was this old dog, climbed up underneath our house, had a litter of puppies up underneath there. Real ugly dog. My dad was talking about it at breakfast one morning. He says, sounds like a bunch of puppies. So what I think is that a stray got up underneath the house, had a bunch of puppies. Now, I don't want you going up underneath the house. You know, it's a real small space. That dog decides to go after you. You got nowhere to go. And I said, okay. But days passed, and I started thinking about those dogs. I started hearing them. I made up my mind that I was going to go up underneath the house and see what I could do for that mama dog and her puppies. I knew it was dangerous, and I knew I had to be real careful. First time I got up underneath the house there, old mama dog, she started growling, serious like saying, don't you come no closer. I was about 20 yards away, something like that. It was a pretty good distance, and I couldn't see her. I could only hear her growling at me. And so I just stopped right there in the dark. I had no flashlight or anything. There were some cracks where the light was coming in from outside. And, after a while my eyes would adjust and I could see silhouettes there underneath the house. I sat there real calm, not moving, not making any quick moves at all, not knowing how big this dog is. But hearing the pups, I can hear the pups whining and stuff, hear her moving around a little bit. And I started talking to her real soft. Hey there, mama. I ain't here to hurt you, mama. You're okay. You're okay. Did that. I think I stayed underneath there for about an hour that day. Now, I went back the next day and did the same thing. She started growling at me. I stopped there. I'm on my hands and knees. I'm in a crawling position. There truly is no room to move around down there. I mean, just enough space for me to crawl on my belly. So I stopped there again. I talked to her. Hey, old mama. It's all right. It's all right. I'm not here to hurt you. Nothing to worry about here. Again, I stayed about another hour and then I left. The next day, or maybe the next 3 or 4 days, something like that, she was starting to get used to my voice. So I crawled maybe 2 feet and she started growling. I started talking to her again. Good old mama. I know you got your old pups up there and you're just protecting your pups. You're a good old girl. I would test my luck each day just a little bit more. I'd crawl just a little bit further than I had crawled the day before. And she'd let me get a little bit closer each time. No hurry whatsoever. I just really took my time. Every day she determined how close I could get. When she said that's far enough, that's where I stopped. And I would just stop and I would just talk to her. Hey, old mama. Hey, old mama. It's good to see you. How are the old pups doing there? You're such a good mom. Until the day that she let me pet her and she let me pet those old pups, finally allowed me to carry those pups out from underneath the house. That was a big day. The kindness and the patience that I showed, how that paid off in allowing me to develop this relationship with her. And I think about her often, that poor old mama dog. She lived with us for years until she just died of old age. And a lot of lessons in that story too, about how to deal with people, especially people who have been mistreated in physical ways, in emotional ways, spiritual ways, mental ways. The type of patience that is required. Empathy, sympathy, putting yourself in the other person's shoes, trying to understand the things they're feeling and thinking and scared about. Sometimes life calls for that. If you imagine that I got up underneath that house and, hey, don't growl at me. Don't you growl at me. This is my house. Who do you think you are? How far you reckon that would have got me? There will be times where I'm trying to teach my daughter something that, to me, seems very important. And I'll go into it thinking, wow, this is so important. She needs to hear this. But her mind's just not there. Or her growth isn't quite there. She's thinking about video games, or she's thinking about this or that. And that's kind of like listening to mama growl and say, that's far enough right now. If I try to push it, she's not going to retain the information. She's not going to learn it, and she's not going to enjoy it. But if I listen to the feedback I'm getting from her, if I'm sensitive to that, so maybe I'll shelve this for a little bit. We'll come back to it another time. And you'd be surprised how I'll be sitting around totally absorbed in another thing myself, when she will come up to me and say, "Hey, Dad, do you remember when you were talking about such and such thing? What did you mean about that?" It gets in there, and it's kind of like a seed. She'll come to me later on. Tell me more about that. Maybe I'm totally tied up in something else. But when I see that the timing is right for her, and I see that now this is Mama, she's letting me crawl a little bit closer to her, I look and say the time is right for her. So I put the stuff aside. I say, "Yeah, honey, I'd love to tell you more about that." That's what life is like, ain't it? It's having these experiences that are seemingly completely unrelated, but learning bigger things from them.